Our names are both Gonchak,
And I'm Rochowski.
and today we're going to tell you a story.
Okay, this story is about Maciej Maciński. You probably know this guy. He's studying project management in our university. This course, you probably all of you know him, or you just took a look at that guy in our university. And actually, he's a director of IT department of Kuzminski University since 2012. Okay, he was born in 1988 at North Praga. Well, it's not the best place to live in Warsaw, and especially to be born, because of that lack of money. But the life turned happy to him, and of course he studied in our university. And that was pretty cool, because he had a lot of time to study, to learn management, and to learn how to manage people and all those business stuff. That's why he decided to go to KFC and eat something. He ate something with his friend. His name is Piotr. Or actually, by interview, he called him Peter, but we will make him Piotr.
Okay. Because we found his page on Facebook and it appeared it is Piotr.
Okay, so they just, eating chicken at KFC, drinking some coffee or tea, and doing some stuff, and they just decided to change something in their lives.
Yeah, that was the main motivation that pushed them to start the business, because they were not really happy with the fact that they were born in Prasnoka. They thought that it's kind of like their destiny not to be successful in the future, and they wanted to break this rule. And after they decided to start, and the reason why they decided to start, not only because of the motivation, but Maciej was working in the press industry. He was writing reviews on games and movies, and maybe because of that he developed the idea, which we'll explain further. But at this point, he just recognized that he has an idea, and his friend Piotr was studying econometrics, and he had some knowledge to, let's say, mathematize his idea and to build an algorithm for it. So they started to work. For the first year, they were learning something like hard work, no parties. Piotr was developing the algorithm. After a year, they decided that they need to get more knowledge. After they got it, finally, with all the stuff during these 2 years, they end up with this.
Follows PL, follow your best entertainment. But actually the simple idea, the simple service that provides you with the best movies, books, games, music, and so on, and such a great stuff. But all that you need to know is you must like something that you've already bought, that you've already read, that you've already seen, and then you've got by this algorithm that they developed, you've got some suggestions that you kind of like. So this is a kind of great service. They were really happy about working on this for 2 years, but they realized that Follows PL needs money. So they started to search some investment, and of course, what actually another companies in Poland do you know about the investment of such a student? So they found this company. And
actually, this seed venture capital funding, and it closely cooperates with AIP, Akademickie something przedsiębiorczości. I don't know how to pronounce it in Polish. It's something called like academic incubators of entrepreneurship, and also with Business Leagues, which is a startup accelerator. And this seed capital organized a contest for young entrepreneurs, and the thing was that they needed to present their idea, prepare all the documentary, all the stuff, and about 150 companies were participating for the beginning, and only 30 of them get to the final stage, which was meeting with investor and persuading them to invest in them.
So the task was actually to present their own company, and guys actually did pretty well. So the investors actually liked their idea. That's why they gave them around 100 zlotys.
100,000.
100,000 zlotys for 15% per share. So that's why they had. Actually, this is a great result for the guys from the North Praga, especially. It was the first project that they even started.
Yes, they were just after studying bachelor in Kuzminski University, so that was kind of great success for them. Yeah. And after they won this money, they decided that now they can build the really important startup, and they decided that they will not get money from startup for themselves. That's why no money for a break-even point with adequate income. So they wanted to develop the business in order to build something really great. So they decided to do it. Next, after a year, when they received the money, surely they started to work even harder. No parties at all, because it's a lot of work. and they end up with new motivation.
Building your own company. And actually this motivation is kind of greater one. Moreover, they came another round of investment. It's just in time when they developed everything, and that was kind of cool. And the next point was actually the same. They were supposed to present some new ventures and features of their company to make their service more profitable and so on. And this presentation was really, really cool. Everyone liked it.
But actually they got no investment for this time. But still they were not disappointed because it was visible that everybody liked their idea and they were like more motivated by it. They knew that their idea is great and they wanted to develop it more. And another point is that by that time they were appearing in newspapers, like in web pages. They were ranked in top 10 startups in Poland. Yeah, so the guys were really successful at that point.
And one day, one cool guy, one rich and really cool guy, I don't know how his name is, he was transferring by the plane to another cool country to spend his money, and suddenly he read something like an article on the internet, and he bought a newspaper, actually we don't know, but he decided to call those guys and ask them to meet with him. The condition was that he will give them some money. That's actually kind of obvious. And he gave it, after a few tries, he gave our guys around 200,000 zlotys per, the same 15% of shares. So that's not a bad result, because they had already around 1/3 of investment for the first project ever.
For guys from Prague and Moldova. But actually there was one condition from this investor, because he wanted our guys to, he wanted to make sure that guys believe in their company, and that's why he asked them to invest for 20,000 zloty each, just to make sure that they are trusting their business. So if they fail, they will lose their own money. Guys contributed to 20,000. That was pretty challenging for them, since they were Praganers. But
they were supposed to ask this money from their families, actually,
yes,
because they didn't have any more.
After that, they were still developing their business, hard work, and they came up with the idea that they need mobile apps, because the market that they were operating in, like IT industries, needed it.
Okay. Actually, that wasn't one thing. Our university, Kazminski University, really liked Maciej Maciński when it started in it. And they decided that actually they want him to work in Kazminski University. He somehow tried to evaluate with some great idea how to combine the startup and how to combine the working at Kazminski University. And actually he decided to do this way.
So, after the Kazminski offered Maciej the job, he met with Piotrek and said that he wanted to work in Kazminski. But the point was that Maciej was taking some money for his job, and Piotrek was still working on startups that had no profit. That's why Piotrek was saying that he wants money, but that was breaching their main rule, not to get money after break-even plus some adequate income. But still, Maciej wanted to go to Kazminski, and he convinced Piotrek and agreed that he will get money as a CEO. Then, for half a year, Maciej was working in Kazminski University while Piotrek was pushing his startup on his own. And after it,
back to business. It is cool that actually Maciej had the possibility to work only for half a year at Kazminski University, and he had the possibility to go back to his work. And everything went pretty right and well and smoothly. But there are a few things. Actually, Piotrek spent really a lot of money for that half a year, really a lot. And he spent it for pushing the startup, not for his own, I don't know, entertainment and so on. But still, that wasn't that problem, because they still had a lot of roundings of this investment, and they could actually work over 1 year easily. And another thing, that actually Piotrek would like to go away from the startup, because he cared a lot about his personal life. He just worked a lot and so on and so on, and he decided to leave. And that's not that problem, because actually Maciej could take this responsibility on his own and be that person who pushed out the startup. But the only problem,
The only problem was that Piotrek mentioned that he wanted to leave company in the meeting with investor. So he lost his trust with guys and he withdrew the rest of the money that they had as his investment. Yeah, and that was so pity. I mean, they were already signing a contract with Onet, CD Projekt, Game Trade, which had like more than 2 million users. And those companies, they wanted to use their algorithm in order to suggest their buyers like some new games or movies to watch. So bad. But let's consider that this startup was successful at some point because they got like $250,000 of investment. So let's analyze the success factors that led them to the point when they were really successful. First of all, it's hard work, for sure, because Maciej was mentioned several times during our interview that they were working hard for years. Like they were sitting in some parks in Warsaw, like spending the whole time after studies till midnight or even later working on startup, developing an algorithm, and they didn't know how to manage the business. So also they needed to get some knowledge. Maciej was studying in Kazminski, he got some knowledge about managing people. Also he was reading a lot of books, he said that he is a fan of books. But still, they needed to learn something more on doing the business, not only from the books. And the last factor was the motivation, because without motivation they wouldn't be so acknowledged about the material and working hard. They had these two motivations. First of all, to change something in their lives, which was really strong since Maciej studied in Kazminski. And the second one, like they were building their own company. They really liked to watch how their company grow. They thought they are changing the world in some way.
there's nothing new in these success factors, and every one of us know this. But actually, we would like to come up with some really useful advices for us, for young entrepreneurs, for young managers, and so on and so on. And actually, in our case, it is pretty cool that the company went to bankrupt. That's because of that Maciej can suggest us something, it can make an advices by the real life, that he actually experienced it in his own. So the first, the first advice from Maciej is: friends are bad business partners. And actually this is kind of logical, let me explain it. When you make the partnership because of friendship, you go from friends to partners. That's easy. And actually that's not 100% right and so on, because some people and some companies may evaluate with some decision and I don't know, come up with another things like they may stay friends and maybe stay partners. But another thing that actually you need already have some money, that you build this startup just for fun, just to develop something, just to change the world and so on and so on. Okay, so the next advice is: don't think too much, but act. That's not only about sportswear shops, about gyms, about Adidas, Nike, Puma, and so on. That's actually related to another kind of jobs, such for example for entrepreneurs. You know this term of procrastination? I mean, every one of you know this, but I don't know about this word, but actually that's about that you can start anything because of you have a lot to do. Because you have a lot of shitty things that you need to evaluate with, and you just make it among to the deadline and so on. This is the same actually thing, because you developed your idea, you created it, and you think you just feel this ecstasy from the first step, like, oh my god, I have an idea and I developed it for freaking 3 years and without doing anything a lot, absolutely anything. And the same thing that actually you may read books. You may, of course, speak with people, you may develop ideas and so on, you may speak with some cool entrepreneurs, but the main thing, you need to act. So the next thing is never stop. Actually, that is really easy to explain in this case. You know, this case about the Starbucks, that those guys who found this, they couldn't find it and convince the investors for around 100 times. And for now, after long years of hard work, we have the largest coffee house in the world. So that's why I never stop. But actually, remember one thing: if your idea is really shitty, please recognize your defeat. Okay.
Before you start.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, that were all the advices for young entrepreneurs. Follow them in order to get, come on, success.
Any questions?
Comments maybe.